Yo, welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy B Moss. Vogue, what's good?
What did you? Happy to be back in the new year. We made it.
2023, what's good? Season 3, we made it. What a time.
I'm excited. I feel like exciting things are coming this year.
This is going to be the best year ever. I
I'll
feel
take that. I agree. I'll take that. It needs to be better than last year.
it. All right. So first off, Happy New Year, all of our listeners and followers out there. Appreciate you guys supporting the podcast. Let's get into first episode of season 3, 2023. So before we get into the topic of today's discussion, let's give a shout out to Vogue, featured in Andscape, article by my man, two-time guest, my brother Justin Tinsley, about the dominance, the greatness of one Usher Raymond. You want to tell the people about your article?
Oh my God, thank you. First of all, yeah, honestly, Justin approached me about giving some comments about Usher. We all know that Usher had like an incredible year last year. I feel like for a long time during the pandemic, we were having a discussion about like, oh, Usher should come do verses. And I feel like he quieted all of us up just by kind of like establishing himself as, for me, he's the male Beyonce, right? I feel like he's such a substantial voice in the music space for Black people. And I feel like not a lot of us were taking him seriously enough. And so through his tour, through the NPR show he did, I feel like he really kind of like let us know who he was and remind us of his impact. And so I got an opportunity to talk about that within the context of Justin talking about it on Andscape. And it was really exciting to be able to give that commentary and be a part of that article.
Yeah, that's dope. Appreciate you representing the duo in that space. I mean, Usher had a crazy year. I think one of the coolest things about obviously not being able to, not having been to the residency in Vegas personally, physically, seeing all the clips and highlights of it, the one thing I think is always dope is whenever the special guests come out,
Yeah.
it shows how well loved, right? How respected he is in the business to have all these other people who are great in their own right want to come to that space and share that stage with him. Shout out to Usher. Got his own Neptunes collabs, which we've talked about on the show too. But yeah, Usher, watch this, yo.
I'm trying to go to the show. That's what I'm saying.
I've talked about that too. It's gotta be amazing. Like we saw him at something in the water. I'm sure it's a similar show, but at the same time, just the Vegasness of it is probably gonna be crazy.
I've never seen him live, and I feel like now is my opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So sticking with current events in the Neptunes universe, Pharrell actually gonna win accepted an award from Urban One Honors on Martin Luther King Day. Urban One Honors Awards show celebrating the culture on TV1 on, I guess that's on January the 16th, I think, on Martin Luther King Day. So more accolades from the GOAT. Obviously, they had their Songwriters Hall of Fame induction last year and another award for them to put on. Well, I guess it's for Pharrell specifically, but
Yeah, he'll be getting the Music Innovator Award, which I think is, really apt for not only who we think he is, but who like the culture feels like what he's established. So I'm
yeah,
excited to see him get that.
yeah, for sure. So the last current event item is actually a really unique one. So today's Monday, the 9th of January. So just for context, if you're hearing this, if you want to go back and look into this. So one of our former guests, my guy, Michael Denzel Smith, who actually is from Virginia, who we had talk about 20th anniversary of Lord Willin', New York Times bestselling author, was actually on episode of Dr. Phil recently talking about Black Lives Matter and the concept of defunding the police. So I woke up this morning and I checked my Instagram notifications, and he and I have a collaborative post about the episode that he was on. So I'm seeing these comments and these people that are talking nonsense in the space, calling him all types of names and telling, like, just being very trolly. And I was like, what is going on? So go and look at his page. So basically, it's on Fox News. So Fox News tried to spin it as Dr. Phil schooling him in this concept, which is not what happened at all. Go watch the video, interpret it as you like. But shout out to Michael Denzel Smith for always standing up and representing us and being a voice for us, despite what the trolls may say.
I will absolutely say I did not know Dr. Phil was a thing still. So I feel like that should give you a little context into how that conversation may have gone. But we are proud of you, onward and upward.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like on Twitter, the trolls are, the egg Abby. There's no actual pictures or dog Abby. Twitter, on Instagram, it's just just random people, bunch of flags in there, a bunch of foreign flags. Wow. But the one thing is, all the people that commented were private. So like that's why I just don't even think they're real people. I think they're made up bots. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. Shout out to Michael Denzel Smith. Keep fighting the power, bro.
I feel like
Crazy.
our proxy, we're a little bit cool because like we're getting some trolling. That means some people are paying attention.
Like we gotta guess. Like I'm 100% agreeing that engagement for the most part is all good,
Yeah,
unless it gets to be, threatening or,
right. A little attention isn't bad. Doesn't hurt. So, thank you.
all right, here we go.
Let's get into it.
So, trying to keep with the loose tradition that we started so far in the first two seasons of Neptune Sunday, kicking the first part of the season off with a versus style battle of frequent collaborators. So, before we get into who we're doing, versus is actually back in the news, sort of.
Really?
Rumors are floating that the JD and Puff versus may be coming back, or maybe like actually having life, which
Okay.
I think is going to be cool, but still, like, I don't know if it's enough to revive it. Like, it's not, it's been so long since they've had one. They had their own drama with between Swizz and Timbo and the Triller folks. Like,
Yeah.
I think it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it if it's going to happen, but not holding my breath.
Not holding my breath. And also, I mean, I think it's worth noting that we kind of had our own version of this live. I'll be really honest and say I had no faith in JD whatsoever. And I was proven wrong. I was kind of happy. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, looking at P's work and looking at JD's work, I didn't feel like they had the same caliber
Yeah.
of a library. And it was exciting to kind of like relive the memories, like go through all of that music. JD has some really strong work under his belt. And so, I mean, I think it would go a long way to revive kind of like the Versus brand, but I'm excited to see what happens in short.
Yeah. Puff got hits, man. Don't worry if I write rhymes. I write checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not mad.
So our verses today, frequent collaborators. We're going with one Nelly versus Ti.
Oh, Cornell.
All right, go ahead. You start, Vogue. Tell us about Cornell.
Absolutely. So, Nelly like rose to popularity in the early 2000s, much like the Neptunes. As we all know, he was not born in Texas, but he settled in Missouri, St. Louis, and he formed a group with the St. Lunatics, who are all familiar with because of him in high school. He hits the larger scene, was signed by Universal in around 99, 2000. And what I found out and kind of like learning a little bit more about him, because like for me, from a personal perspective, like Nelly was this guy who came out who just like really blended pop and rap well. He was really popular from the outset. What I didn't know was that he was not well received by his label at first. He's like the first real notable hip hop presence from the Midwest. And his sound, like I said, is like that pop rap. He kind of like brings in the use of the Midwestern accent in rap. And he had some really hot and heavy hits. Another thing that I didn't realize about him is that his popularity was so strong. He performed as a guest at the Super Bowl in 2001, and then right again in 2004, he was back at the Super Bowl. He had a Nike deal, a poker tournament, a celebrity sweat video. Like, I think in the years after Nelly's like really big flame, we kind of forget about how prominent he was. So it comes to me as no surprise that he would link up with the Neptunes, despite being like kind of closer to JD and those guys and work with them more intimately. But there's like 10 hits that I was able to name from Nelly and Neptunes, and I feel like it's pretty strong music.
Yeah, so I think just hearing you go through all that story for Nelly, it's these guys are similar in that space that they became, two of the bigger brands, right?
Yeah.
Hip hop and in our era in terms of the things that they were into and the impact they had outside of music. Well, I don't think Nelly's been in movies, but T.I.'s been in movies, and Nelly had his thing with the crossover and country music. So those guys are two of the bigger names of our era, and obviously the Neptunes had a huge part of that. So getting into backstory for Tip, my man Clifford Harris, before we get into that though, I wanted to say that I did legit think about before we recording this to scrap it and go Ti instead and go Nelly versus Ludacris because I felt like just listening to all
Uh-huh.
the Ti Neptune's collaborations, which I'll get into in a second why there's so many of them, like I felt like he deserved his own episode, but then the problem was that Ludacris didn't have enough. Like Ludacris has got like
Yeah.
I think he's got like 5 or 6. But yeah. But back into Ti, Cliff Harris born in ATL. Obviously his documented past dealing in the drug game. He's seen as one of the forefathers of trap music. It's really crazy. I'm gonna play it on my phone. I literally maybe 2 days ago on TikTok just happened to stumble upon some video of some looks like a public access TV show of Ti rapping as a youngster. Hold on.
Oh my God.
Um, oh, for real too. I tell you, he's on his way. And right now, but damn, I wrote proud child love him, man.
This is a
There are all kinds of bundles around. There's something they pop up trouble when there's trouble all around. The
oh
trouble,
my gosh.
the answer. It's like it's kind of right, but I think about no male role models don't sleep alone at night.
God.
That
It's
is adorable.
I don't know. He's got to be like 13 or 14 at the most, right?
Yeah.
You can hear the early foundation of the flow right there. You got to
The
that
little
was
seeds
cool.
are planted. I hear it.
Yeah, so KP Kawan Prather, who was part of the Dungeon family, is kind of like who kind of really jump started Tip's career, discovered him, and which also was kind of the connecting piece to Pharrell and the Neptunes. KP worked at LaFace. Obviously, you know that P had and Neptunes did some work with Babyface. So KP had his Ghetto Vision imprint on under LaFace, which launched Ti's career, but then there was transition and ended up being an Arista. T actually says that in one of the songs, LA gone and I ain't got a deal no more. But the cool thing about the story and going to Arista is that when he got there, they had this conversation and KP was like, they ended up needing to change his name from Tip because Arista already had Q-Tip signed to the
Okay.
label. And out of respect, there was like, well, you can't, there don't need to be two tips, right?
Yeah.
Stop the confusion there. So that's why they had a conversation, ended up just taking the P off and just saying Ti. And his first time working with Pharrell, P actually called him the Jay-Z of the South, which I think if you look back around, if you put yourself back in time to like 2005, 6, 7, 8, they're like before all the really crazy legal issues, like he was on that level, especially when you think about the culmination of that comparison when they got on Swagger Like Us, which was like a crazy record when you think about it at the time.
Yeah. I'd absolutely agree with that analysis.
So consistently putting out music and movies since 2001, considered to be one of the highest selling hip hop acts of all time. There's rumored to be a final album called Kill the King that's supposed to come out soon. I just personally got to say that from 2003 to 2008, like I said, like that was a time where Tip was arguably in my top 5 like favorite rappers that I actually like really looked forward to hearing music from.
Yeah.
And obviously we know he's had a ton of controversy. Been to jail a couple times. Obviously the tragic death of his friend, Big Phil.
Yeah.
But one thing that I wanted to make sure that just to end it with a positive note is in his Wikipedia, throughout, in addition to all the controversy, it says that he randomly has saved 2 people from suicide.
Really?
And one of those people happened to be the lead singer of Creed, which is just like reading that story.
Huh.
It was just like, come on, man. Like everybody's Wikipedia page has got to have a gem like that in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
shout out to Tip. Excited to have this conversation about the impact of his music. Let's
Absolutely.
do it.
I don't really, I don't have a lot of opportunities to compare Nelly with Ti, but I guess like you said, looking back, I kind of see how they both had this really huge level of popularity at that time. I don't think I didn't realize how much Nelly had. And when I think about it, thinking about the movies that Ti has done, he was huge. And I mean, I think he still has a role in the Black music space, despite the controversy. So
Yeah, for sure.
let's go.
I mean, he's in some big movies though. I mean, Atlanta was obviously a big deal, and he was an American Gangster, which was crazy. And
Yeah. What's the movie he's in with Idris Elba? I love that.
Acres.
Yes, that was good.
But then, Tip is big deal, and we're Marvel fans. He's in Ant-Man, which is crazy, right? Like
Ooh, you are showing my hand because I didn't see one of the Ant-Mans.
Vogue.
And I don't, I'm still a fan, y'all. Don't kick me out of the club.
New Ant-Man come out in February. I go check it out.
I gotta go like refresh. There's like a couple that I missed. My bad. I missed the last Guardians of the Galaxy on purpose. So like I'll go back and watch those.
All right, let's get the battle going.
Let's do it.
Ladies first.
All right. All right. So my first song, interestingly enough, kind of starts at the end of the Nelly Neptunes collaborations. And actually, this song, it's called Rick James. Big surprise. You can kind of hear the funk guitar in the back. It came out on his sixth album, MO, in 2013. And it's the production is actually just Pharrell. So we're in the period where Pharrell's doing solo work. And what I really liked about this song is I'm really more of a 70s music girl when it comes to looking back on musical history. I don't know a lot of Rick James' repertoire, but I think it like really taps into that. I love the groove of it. It brilliantly combines kind of like Nelly's rap singing. It's just a really fun song. So this is my first time hearing it when I was like doing the research for this battle, and that's my contribution.
Yeah. Important to note T.I.'s on that. First of a couple of T.I. features with Nelly.
Mm-hmm.
Rick James obviously you can tell the funk influence in the Pharrell and Neptune's music.
Yeah.
Like we talked about way back on episode 1. The song that Pharrell and Chad did for ODB, doing the remake of Rick James' Cold Blooded. So not the first Rick James Neptunes connection reference there. So yeah, like that's a cool song.
What you
All
got?
right. My first song.
Hey, and nigga P said he wanted inspiration. Damn, P.
Okay, so that is a song called Oh Yeah. It's from the Paperwork album. That the album has a few Neptunes joints on it. Fun fact of that album, and like I said, the reason why that song has a lot of Neptunes Pharrell features on it is because Pharrell actually executive produced that album. So
Okay.
Paperwork, you'll know it for the singles, All About the Money featuring Young Thug, which is a big deal, and No Mediocre featuring Iggy Azalea. But I think that was probably the last massively successful Tip album or Tip project that came out. I love the song just because of the vibe of it, the inspirational tone of the Oh Yeah choir sample that P has on there. See, it's something that he actually used on another song that he did for Kirk Franklin. So inspirational P mixed with inspirational Tip, but also kind of like regular fuck this shit Tip as well. Which is a cool mix. But just hearing about how Pharrell came to executive produce his album is after the album before this was done, T.I. left his label, left Atlantic to go. Pharrell can convince him or encourage him to join and sign with Columbia, which is where Pharrell signed to. So made sense for him to executive produce it. He said that T.I. said that they recorded like 250 songs, which is like where they at? Like 250 songs is like crazy. But yeah, that's a dope song. I think that's like I said, there's some hits on that album and some really good songs on that album. Executive produced by P.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great one. We'll move on to my next intro.
My license plates.
All right, that track is Shake Whatever. That's also on the MO album. That was actually a bonus track. So funny that it made my list higher than one that was actually on the album. But what I like about that song is, for me, it kind of, interestingly enough, gives me kind of the grown and sexy feel that, let's say, an Excuse Me Miss would give you, but also very Nelly-fied, like Nelly kind of gets a bad rap for being more of like a quote unquote nursery school rhymer. But I feel like it's able to combine those two elements of like this grown and sexy out on a club beat with his rap style and make it something that's like really fun to listen to. I really enjoyed that one. Again, that was like my first time hearing it and it skyrocketed to the top of my list. So, any thoughts?
I didn't remember that song. I don't know. I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah.
Like that's from MO, you said?
Bonus track. Yep.
Might be why.
Yeah. Gotta hit the bonuses. There's some gems in there.
Yeah. Okay. I like that one. I like that one.
All right. What's next for you?
Nelly had more than I thought he did. I knew Rick James. I didn't know that one. So I'm pleasantly caught off guard with that one. Okay.
I need everyone to stop because this never happens on this show. Is always showing me a song I haven't listened to. So I'm bowing right now. This is like my moment of victory.
All right. My next song. That's Good Life from the King album. Features another underrated Neptunes collaborator, my guy Common, who we've talked about on the show before. I actually read that for that album, T.I. was hoping to get a Jay-Z feature, but it didn't happen because of timing, schedule issues. So he was replaced by Common. So thinking about Jay-Z in that space, it was also weird because it said that Jay-Z was going to be on Why You Wanna, which that clearly wasn't where Common was placed. But either way, I think Jay-Z on either one of those songs, Why You Wanna, A Good Life would be dope.
Yeah.
I just think overall, I remember first hearing that and really feeling it was a dope song. Me and Tinsley actually were at Hampton, and I don't know if it was on AOL Music or some streaming platform, which obviously when we say streaming back in 2006 is different than when we're talking about streaming in 2023. So I just remember there being some way for us to listen to it live. Like if we're in a dorm room listening to him drop all these tracks and talk about them afterwards, which was dope.
Yeah.
Obviously, that being a Neptune song, I picked that up immediately, and just that was one that stuck out and blew me away on the first listen. So shout out to shout out to my boy Marcus Winston, live from 201 and Holmes Hall at Hampton University.
Love it. All right. Let's hit my next one. Everyone's gonna know this song. Arguably one of the most classic Neptunes beats of all time. That was on Nelly's second album, Nellyville, which is around 2003, 2004. I really don't need to intro this song that much because when I tell you that there's not a person who's listening to this who doesn't know that song. The video was crazy, iconic video, iconic song, number one hit. And important for me to say as somebody from like PGDC, the hook incorporates part of Bustin' Loose by Chuck Brown, Godfather of Go-Go in DC. So finally, I think it's funny that it's 3 on my list, but I think if we were to name top 10 Neptune tracks of all time, that definitely makes the list.
Yeah, that's definitely up there in terms of the Neptune's greatest hits for sure. I remember that Nellyville album just having some underrated songs on it. Like it had it had the joint with Justin, Work It. Is that song right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So Hot in Here is up there, man.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest Neptune songs of all time that had that summer on Smash.
Absolutely.
All right. My next song.
Yo.
All right. So that is What's Your Name from T.I.'s first album, I'm Serious. One of my favorite Neptune songs. I think is underrated for sure. It's really got that quintessential early Neptune sound in it.
Yeah.
Pharrell on the hook doing his falsetto harmonizing like he does. I love this joint just because it's so smooth and it's such a opposite of the other Neptune song on this first album, considering how in your face that song is, which will come up later. But I think it really helped T.I. establish his cool pimp player verses and flow that he's been come to be known for in his career. And a lot of cool, smooth, like just kind of chill, but still very lyrical, hot raps. So
yeah,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure. I forgot all about that song, but I definitely remember it. Definitely a classic.
All right, what you got?
You're gonna love this next one.
Would you be my girlfriend?
Best part about this song is I figured out that I still know all the words to Nelly's verse. That song was the Girlfriend remix. The song is technically by NSYNC, but Nelly is the featured artist. And I think it's an important song because if you know the story behind it, Nelly's label actually told him when he wanted to be on the song that he was like about to ruin his career. This is very early on in Nelly's career. I want to say it's like 2002. And they definitely ate their words. This ended up being the last single by NSYNC. So like Justin was a writer on this song, and it pretty much launched his career and his kind of pivot into more of a hip hop sound with the Neptunes. So I think it's interesting that like Nelly's doing this work with Justin Timberlake and the Neptunes kind of in tandem. And it's a song that's near and dear to my heart. I remember singing that song in the high school bathroom. So it's a heartfelt memory for me forever. It's a great song. I think some of the better work of NSYNC for their entire career.
Yeah, we're pretty close to being done with this episode. We've probably already had at least 2 JT references, which is like, man, can't escape that guy. But this is a dope song. We've talked about this song before in a couple other episodes. I really love the song. I think Nelly's participation in it helps make it a really big record. Obviously, NSYNC was NSYNC and Justin was Justin. But
Yeah.
adding that definitely, I think, did wonders for, like you said, Nelly's crossover appeal, but also helping to add to the fire for Justin going off into doing great solo work. Cannot talk about this song without giving a shout out to our guy, the DMV's own one JC Chazé, who does
Yes.
something like he always does, never outshined. Like, huge part of this record being as big as it is. Obviously, huge part of NSYNC being as big as they are too. But got to give a shout out to my man JC.
Give my man his flowers. I am a JC fan forever. I'm this song's fan forever. It wouldn't be an episode if I didn't make a pop reference. So I think this is just good pop. It was actually Nelly's first cross collaboration. I think it set the tone for a lot of music that came after. So
yeah, for sure. All right, my next song. All right, so that is Freak Though from Urban Legend album. I think the Urban Legend album overall was such a big like coming out party for Tip in terms of him making a lot of smash records and having them on one project. Like I'm Serious. Trap music, I think, is kind of a cult classic because it had some hits on there and it had some good singles on there. And he was starting to make the rounds and do some features and get some love. But Urban Legend, when you come out with records like Bring 'Em Out,
oh my God.
ASAP, Motivation, those having those records on the album, and then you tuck this little smooth Neptunes joint on there too. Obviously, I'm looking for that because I'm a Neptunes fan.
Absolutely.
And get your 4 count P on, which is important to set the tone. That's how you knew what it was before it even started. But to me, I think that this is just kind of like, it's almost like What's Your Name Part 2. It's got the same similar vibe. I think listening to it, if you want to really dive deep into the lyrics and compare them, it's more of a love song than What's Your Name is, but still very similar pimp player vibes.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite Neptune songs, one of my favorite T.I. songs.
That's definitely my favorite T.I. song. And I would say that Urban Legend is probably my favorite T.I. album. It was big for me. This is like around college time. I played it a lot. So, and I think that was probably my favorite song on that album. So you guys, obviously there's no video to pair with this, but like I hear the song start playing and I just like break out in the biggest smile. So very solid, close to wrap up of this episode. And I'm going to hit you with my last one, my absolute favorite, Nelly and Neptunes collaboration. Drop down and get your eagle on, girl. Drop down. Flap Your Wings. That was on the Sweat side of Sweatsuit, which ended up kind of being like a controversial venture for Nelly because like he put out the 2 separate albums, then he puts out Sweatsuit together. People felt he should have waited and done the Sweatsuit together, but ultimately, if nothing else, Flap Your Wings is a fantastic collaboration. Here's my dance reference of the episode. I did have a dance in this when I was on the Palm Squad for homecoming. So it's just like a really, really fun song, fun, shake your ass kind of music. I think it features some of the more interesting instrumentation and sound effects that P and Chad were using at the time. It stands out in my memory. It's kind of like setting the Neptunes tone. It's still like in that period where they're really hot on the radio and they're establishing who they are in our eyes. And this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure. I think almost like we are just talking about What's Your Name and Freak Though. I think there's a little bit of Flap Your Wings being hot in here, part two. Like, but in a positive way, right? Like not in a repetitive, oh, it's boring, you guys are doing the same thing, but just like, yo, it's just like a different, it's the same energy. Like, and I think that that's really dope. We've talked about, I don't know if we talked about this specific song, but there's a go-go version of Flap Your Wings.
Yeah, it is.
And it is premium crankage.
Wow.
Premium crankage. Oh my gosh, man. If you are feeling go look it up on YouTube. I get all the bands confused. I'm pretty sure it's Backyard, but I don't want to get that wrong. But look it up.
I'm pretty sure it's Backyard.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, Flap Your Wings is a dope song. All right. My last song should be obvious. So this is my favorite T.I. Neptune song, mostly because it introduced me to Tip in general. You know, it was part of the Neptunes being everywhere or starting to be everywhere in 2001, 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
Album came out. I mean, the Beanie Man feature is like not, it's kind of unconventional, but it's also perfect at the same time. Like you would expect this kid who's coming to rap from Atlanta. He's doing it on Neptune's beat and he's got this Jamaican like reggae, like what? But to me, it works. Unfortunately, the song did not perform well, which is part of the whole label drama in the first place. Didn't even chart really, but it just always stood out to me because like T.I. was rapping. So like I said, when Pharrell said that he looked at T.I. as like the Jay-Z of the South, like that's a big deal. But like he's on that song and he's rapping. So I think this is obviously one of my favorite Tip songs of all time. It's up there with 24, it's up there with Rubber Band Man. Very glad that we got to see him perform this song at Something in the Water in DC this summer. Could not, like, I would have felt completely, I mean, not completely, but I would have been disappointed, but not completely disappointed because obviously everything else that happened on that Saturday night performance was amazing. So, but I am glad that they got to do that song. But just a quote that came from T.I. when they were doing Paperwork, he said that Pharrell is the first A-list producer that I was afforded the opportunity of working with. And it wasn't because of my budget afforded it, but it was because he heard something in me that was like, man, I need to work with this kid. And every album since, we've worked together, which is weird because they didn't work together on trap music, but I'll give him credit for that. Like, I get what you're saying, bro. I felt for those, in case T.I. himself forgot, there is no Neptunes Pharrell production on trap music, but we get the point.
We absolutely do. We absolutely do. And I think that, it's something we talk about a lot, talking about not only the buy-in from established artists to take a risk on the Neptunes in their starter days, but like for the Neptunes to take a risk on somebody else as an artist, that says something about you. And I think even now when Pharrell signs on to like these unknown artists, when Chad does like a Kenna record, that's saying like, I am the gold star A standard of production and like I see something in you. And I think they absolutely weren't wrong, despite how you feel about Clifford. He's put out some good stuff over the years.
Right.
And I actually, in wrapping this up, I want to tell the listeners something. I started this conversation off, it was off record. I said to Vaughn, and there are no winners when we do Verzuz. We're all winners, we're Neptunes fans. But I was like, I backed the wrong horse. I was like, I picked the wrong person. And I actually don't feel like I chose that wrong. I feel like Nelly had some solid contributions in this conversation.
Yeah, I think you underestimated yourself and your partnership with Cornell. Like so what are are there any what were the songs that were left off that you felt like could have been in your top 5?
I actually didn't add this song, and why can't I think of it? It's an acronym.
Oh, IDGAF.
Yeah, I left that off because I thought you were going to pick it because it also is a T.I. collaboration. I was gonna add that. I also really like Play It Off, and that is from the
Mhm.
Suit album of the Sweatsuit. So, like, I mean, there's one song that surprisingly I was like, I don't know what we were doing that day, Pharrell.
Yeah.
But besides that, like, there are 10 overall. There are at least 9 strong contenders on that list.
Yeah, like looking at the list now,
Yeah,
like first off, IDGAF, you just talked about it. T.I.'s on that song.
yeah,
They have a bunch of songs together, like not all Neptunes, but just in general, like they have collaborated on some kind of records, some big records. We talked about that song, we talked about Get Loose, but I think they have an underrated collaboration, record and resume together as well. That should be noted. But I wanted to talk about IDGAF and how we found out. Shout out to my man Ron P for pointing out that IDGAF was originally a Mike Posner record.
mm-hmm.
And it just kind of speaks to the point of references and tracks that go to people first. Usually it's like, oh, well, that person didn't want to use it or the label didn't like it, so you kept it. But sometimes, like, where if it's a reference, you can tell that the person that ended up having it was supposed to have it. Right.
Yeah,
Mike Posner, I think it fit him and it made sense for it to start with him. But when you think about when you listen to both versions and you listen to what Nelly and T.I. did, it's like
yeah,
that record's so much bigger. It's like, yeah, usually the song might start with the artist because it's strictly based on the art, but then when you start to add the business side of it, the commerce side of it, it's
yeah,
definitely a bigger record because Nelly and T.I. did it.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
But I'm looking at your list for Nelly. So you didn't pull out If from Clones.
Oh, major mistake on my part. I forgot all about that song.
About If from Clones. I mean, it's a joint. So it's actually a joint on here called Let It Go, Little Mama, that actually in that same vein is start off as a BG record,
Okay.
which is weird because it's Cash Money. Cash Money has a unique relationship with the Neptunes and Star Trek, but we'll get into that another day. But I like Play It Off a lot. I'm glad you brought that up. But other than that, I think you had the right songs, Book. You had the right
I
songs.
doubt myself sometimes, but I did okay.
So for me, the honorable mentions, like I think T.I. has a lot. Like obviously, I'm saying that him and Pharrell got 250 songs that they did on Paperwork. Like there's a lot of T.I. songs. Like there's a bunch of mixtapes and unreleased tracks that I thought are dope. Like not a Neptune's produced track, but P and T.I. and Young Dro on the Pharrell Gangsta Grills album is really dope. It's a song called Hear Ye, which I think is dope. Again, Cash Money reference. So there's a song. Apparently, there's some group called DOPE Dope that was signed to Grand Hustle that had a song called Block Blazer, which is literally like an interpolated remix of Juvenile's Ha. So again, the Cash Money
Wow.
connection. It's a dope song. Shout out to Niles and Corey Towns for I discovered that in their discography, the God's work that they did in putting all the Neptune songs together. Also got to mention that T.I. had the stir fry beat first. RIP to Takeoff. But I felt like when listening to that version, it definitely felt like it was a good song, but not like a great song, right? Like not like the smash hit record that the Migos turned it into. Also got to mention that another unreleased mixtape track is with Family. So Family's song that he had on Lord Willin', the little family interlude, actually is a longer song that features T.I. and Scarface.
Oh wow.
So that's a dope song. Like I think, part of the process of trying to push out Family and have his career launch, like that was a really dope song to have those two big Southern rap icons in that song at the time. Like that was a big deal for us. And obviously it was a big deal for us too, because it was like, oh, there's a full version of this song that we love because it's
Yeah.
Family on the Laura Willin album.
Yeah.
And the last song I want to talk about on Paperwork, song called G Shit, which is featuring Jeezy. Jeezy has a crazy verse on there. It's always great when T.I. and Jeezy get together and do their Atlanta hip hop
That's a
shit.
good one.
But yeah, lots of honorable mentions for T.I. Like he's got a lot of records, and most of them, unfortunately you can't get them on streaming, but just YouTube them. T.I. and Pharrell, man, they got hits, man. Like, and that was
I didn't
crazy.
realize. I didn't realize how many. Like similarly to, Nelly, I don't think I realized how often they work together. I think, we talk about like Justin, we talk about Jay, we talk about
Right.
Snoop as freaking collaborators. And I think those are names that people just like remember, but like they've worked with a lot of people and invested their time and created a sound for them. So it's cool to also like, rediscover those sounds and those
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and I tweeted it from the Neptune Sunday account last week, I think. Like T.I. brings some good energy in his verse on the nerd song Party People.
Yeah.
That's a dope one. But yeah, definitely a lot. This is definitely two of the bigger frequent collaborators.
Yeah.
So good to do this episode and have those guys' hits be highlighted. But before we even wrap this up, we cannot leave the subject without bringing up the one song, Blurred Lines.
Oh.
Well, obviously, Blurred Line was a smash, undeniable record that
Like smash is not even the word.
it was everywhere.
You couldn't go anywhere without hearing that song.
It was everywhere. But I didn't want to put it on the list for a bunch of reasons. I couldn't in my heart put that in the top 5 of anything right now, just because of obviously, I mean, first of all, I lean towards picking songs that were actually T.I. songs. Like
Yeah.
that gave me an easy out.
Yeah.
But obviously, the controversy of the subject matter is a little bit uncomfortable, which I don't think that most people realized when it was out that it was that like racy.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
But then the bigger controversy is obviously the legal issues with Marvin Gaye and his
Yeah.
estate because of the similarities in the song, which I thought was really, really unique thinking about it because like T.I. refers to himself as Trouble Man, which is obviously like him copying Marvin Gaye, right? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, I mean, it's a tough spot, man. I'm always ride or die for my man P. It's a tough.
You're so I did not even think you were gonna bring up the first thing is controversy. Like, I'm a little racier than Vaughn is, so like I'm not scandalized at all by this song, but it does stay on my mind, the whole thing about Marvin Gaye and his estate. I would say though, I like this song because I think it is a textbook example of good song craftsmanship.
Yeah.
It was an earworm. Like, you almost can't do it better than this song did. But I also grew to hate it because they played it so much. So like I'm almost embarrassed to say how much I like it. It was an amazing song to have lived through. Let me just say that.
It was a great song, and I think part of the disdain for it is compounded by some residuals from Happy because it was
Yeah.
about the same time. Like this is in 2013. Is a resurgence of Pharrell that is like he is everywhere. When you think about Happy, you think about Let's Get Lucky, you think about this song.
Yeah.
People got tired of him in a sense, which is like, of course, I didn't get tired of him. That's my guy.
Yeah.
But I think that all that combined, and then you add this controversy of the legal issues. In an interview with Rick Rubin, Pharrell said he kind of talks about how he tends to reverse engineer tracks based on feelings, right? And so
Yeah.
you can't necessarily copyright a feeling. The feelings of these songs are similar, but like the courts felt enough that it was copying enough that it like they did not rule in their favor. But those are reasons why I didn't make my top 5 at the time. Like I said, undeniable smash hit record. I think if you take away the drama, it is up there in the top 20, 25.
I can't even argue that. Yeah.
It's up
Absolutely.
there. It's up there.
We might hit 15. I mean, it really depends on what you're talking about, but like really when it comes to the business of making a song,
Yes.
making a profitable, get the people moving, earworm, it sticks with you forever. I have the song playing in my head now, and I'll probably have it for the next couple of days because it's that infectious. Like, that is good songwriting.
Yeah.
Which is, why he's our guy, right?
Robin Thicke has his own set of
I don't want to talk about it.
overall. It didn't make it. But we could not have this episode and not mention it. Had to mention
Absolutely.
this elevator. I mean, not elevator. Elephant sitting in the back behind us.
Yeah.
Had to bring it up. But overall, shout out to Nelly, shout out to T.I., shout out to Pharrell and Chad.
For sure, always.
Another verse is done. Again, there's no winners here. We're all here to celebrate the music. But yeah, shout
Just
out.
start to the year.
Got it done. It's crazy. T.I. just announced he's on some tour with a bunch of older gentlemen.
Oh my God.
Older gentlemen's not the right word because that would include me too. So damn.
You put yourself.
Legends of the Streets tour kicking off this February, coming to a city near you. Looks like Jeezy.
Okay.
Rick Ross.
Okay.
Gucci Man, Maine.
Wait, is that sold out
Two
yet?
Chains.
Wait, is this sold out yet? I need to go to this.
Davis, Ja Rule, Cameron, Trina.
What?
Wow. There's no link in this tweet.
Yeah, I mean, send me the tweet because I need proof of this. If it's happening, I'm going.
Legends of the Street Tour tickets. Where are the dates? It literally starts in the first week of February.
All right, we can talk about this offline. But before we close, I want to give a shout out to my sister who has been quietly braiding my hair in the background. Shout out to Blackness that I'm getting my hair braided while I'm recording this episode.
We can do anything.
You wouldn't even know I'm in the same house with somebody because she's been so quiet the whole time. So thank you, sis.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
All right, Joe. Appreciate you, Vogue. Good to see you. And I got this big grin on my face because I don't want to give away any secrets, but like I'm very excited for 2023. So everyone, appreciate you guys continue to support Neptune Sunday. Catch you next Neptune Sunday. Peace and love.
Bye.